Our meeting is now open for the sharing of testimonies of healing through the study and practice of Christian Science. Tom from Iowa, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary, for those very meaningful, touching, moving readings. I am grateful to God, to Christ Jesus, Mary Baker Eddy, and His church for all that it does. I'm grateful I'll be able to go back home again and continue on with this science as this church teaches it. I know I have so much to learn and I flop so often, I just have to get back up again. And I hope God's good grace allows for that. Through some of my trials, I've learned in some small way so far how important it is to give to others a word of encouragement or something and not to think of myself so much or as much as I did before. Thank you for all the hymns, the testimonies given tonight, and all of us gathering together to help each other on in our individual mission as the readings were given tonight and to worship God. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Karen from California, go ahead, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Gary, for those beautiful readings. In last Saturday's Bible study, the last question on Tom's study guide was, what does Paul's conversion tell us about how God can impact our lives and the community we live in? Tom referred to this question, and rightly so, as the most important question of the Bible study. When thinking about this question, my thought went back to 7 years ago when I first heard about Plainfield and started working with a practitioner here. My conversion, or change of heart, happened when I realized happiness on a human level was at best temporary and needed to be established on a spiritual rather than a material foundation. As this change in consciousness was taking place, many things in my life started changing with great rapidity. Deciding to sell 2 houses and where to move to was a change that I had to completely put in the hands of God, for I never saw myself moving from my house of 35 years. But the greatest desire I had now was to give up all planning on a human level. I almost prided myself on how in control of things I thought I was, until I saw I was not. I began to see that trust in God had to take precedence in my life, which resulted in a greater sense of peace. My desire was for us to move to that community where God knew we would bless the most. We have been in this community now for 6 years, and it is such proof to me that trusting in God's plan for us and putting Him in charge of our lives is rewarded in unimaginable ways. My daughter, after living in New York for 8 years, moved back home just before COVID and had not found a place to live yet. So our new home provided that place for her until she moved in with a friend. My husband's son and daughter-in-law, who had moved to Ohio about 7 years ago, moved in with us for 6 months while they were making a change in employment so they could move back to California. They were going to have their first child. Their son was born a week after moving out to their own place, which is now very close to us. My youngest son came back from living in Washington State for 8 years and brought with him a soon-to-be fiancé. They got married, bought a house 12 minutes away from us, and now have an 8-month-old daughter that we get to see often. That's just a few of the blessings that have come as a result of my letting go of a false sense of harmony in matter. Often as I drive to my son and daughter-in-law's house, or go to babysit on nights they would like to go to a movie or dinner, I am often overwhelmed with gratitude as to what God has done for us. I am so grateful to God for all his innumerable blessings and for bringing me to Plainfield Church. Here I have been learning with the support of my loving practitioner and this church's teachings how to practice Christian Science as was taught by the discoverer and founder of Christian Science, Mary Baker Eddy. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Mara from Mississippi, go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say how grateful I am for everyone who took part in this past Sunday's roundtable discussion entitled God Requireth That Which Is Past. It was so comforting and helpful, and the way immortality was explained really made it easy to understand. Every quote, analogy, and point shared was simple and clear. It really spoke to me. The articles that were read were beautiful and inspiring too. I'm so thankful for the Plainfield workers who always show up and share exactly what we need to hear. I know it's because they're so in tune with God, always praying and listening for his direction. I'm just so thankful I found the Plainfield Church. I've been learning so much about Christian Science, and it's been such a blessing. I'm also very grateful for the love and support of my practitioner. Thank you, Gary, for the readings tonight. I'm really happy to be here. Good night.
Thank you. Barbara from Massachusetts, go ahead, please.
Good evening, and thank you also very much for those readings. They were like a good pep talk. Thank you. I would like to share a small incident that occurred last Sunday. I was preparing for a tutoring session to take place Monday morning, and as part of my preparations, I needed to print some material from my computer. My printer has served me long and faithfully, but recently it has sometimes acted up a bit. As it started to print, I heard this ominous bang within the machine, and it abruptly stopped. When I opened the printer to investigate, I saw that it had grabbed 20 to 25 sheets of paper at once, leaving a tangled mess in the machine. I very carefully began to extricate the sheets one by one, but when I got to the last sheet, it was wedged tightly in an area inaccessible without taking the machine apart. I managed to grab hold of a corner of it with tweezers, but it would constantly tear off, leaving the rest of the paper behind. As this was going on, I cannot truthfully say that I prayed about it, except for some vague thought that God knew how to clear up this mess. However, I still had the roundtable discussion from earlier in the day working in my head, and was in a positive and receptive frame of mind. As I was working, the thought came to me to turn the printer on and print a page. Well, that seemed to me to go against all common sense. First, it probably wouldn't print, and secondly, if it did, that paper would also probably jam and just compound the problem. So I kept working away with my tweezers until I came to an impasse and could not remove any more paper. Then the thought came again to turn on the printer and print a page. Though I didn't understand, this time I obeyed and printed a page. Not only did it print perfectly, but as the sheet left the printer, it also carried along with it the remaining scraps of paper still stuck in the printer. It has been functioning perfectly ever since. Of course, I thanked God for the resolution to this problem, but I am more grateful for the reminder once again of the Bible admonition to trust God completely in all our ways and not to lean on our own understanding. Apparently, this even applies to minor things like bulky printers. Before closing, I also want to give a special thanks to all those who participated in last Sunday's roundtable. It was a particularly inspiring and enlightening discussion, and everyone made such valuable contributions. What a unique church this is, which offers us such incredible opportunities for spiritual growth. I dare say there is not another church like it, and I feel so blessed to have found it. My heartfelt thanks to all those who sacrificed so much to make it happen. It's a joy to be taking part this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy from New Jersey, go ahead, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Gary, for the beautiful and very inspiring readings tonight on our individual mission. I'd like to give my gratitude for a recent experience I had that resulted in a healing of allergies. We live in the country, and in the springtime, the pollen would really bother me, and it would seem that when the locust trees started to bloom with their beautiful white flowers, my throat would become sore and I would get bad headaches. So I would try to avoid being outside during this time. I spoke with my practitioner about this problem in the past, and one of the things she gave me to work with, which I especially love, was a verse from hymn 195. The verse is, "Girt with the love of God on every side, I breathe that love as heaven's own healing air." And I would work with that line quite often, and the symptoms would diminish. Well, one morning recently, I got the idea to take a walk around our property. It was a little windy, but such a beautiful sunny morning. So out I went to admire all that was springing to life. And as I was walking, I was talking to God and thanking Him for giving me such a beautiful place to live. I was so caught up in the beauty of God's creation and talking to Him, and I found myself smiling when I saw these delicate little white flower petals landing on me as I was walking. And then as I looked out over the fields, which had been planted with wheat, I was admiring how beautiful it looked with the tassels swaying in the breeze and what looked like these beautiful little puffs of cloud floating off of them as it blew across the field. And then it dawned on me, those beautiful little clouds I was admiring was pollen, and the delicate white petals on me were from the locust trees. And I started to laugh. Wow, the things that I thought caused me to suffer in the past had absolutely no power over me, except to make me laugh. I had never even given pollen or the locust trees a thought at all, for all that I was able to see was the beauty of God. I felt absolutely no symptoms of allergies. In fact, I felt wonderful and uplifted and filled with gratitude and love for God and for the beauty in all that He created. I truly had been girt with God's love and was breathing that love as heaven's own healing air. The thought also came to me that although I hadn't been praying about or even thinking about allergies at the time, we have been taught here to know that every time we make a declaration of truth, even if we don't think we see results right away or that we're not completely free of a problem, we can know with certainty that the truths we declare do go out with the mighty power of God and keep going on forever. Therefore, these truths were right there with me and working and in action that day and always. I'm so grateful for this healing and this revelation, and I'm so grateful to God, grateful for Christian Science, Christ Jesus, and Mary Baker Eddy, and so very grateful for my practitioner's support and the teachings we receive in this wonderful Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for those deep, instructive readings tonight. I would like to express my gratitude this evening for the prayers of my practitioner and instructions regarding how to pray before, during, and after our interactions with others. Living Christian Science naturally purifies and uplifts our affections towards all. Recently, I had a visit from family around Mother's Day. That evening, I had sharp stomach pains. I had to stop what I was doing. I turned to the weekly Bible lesson, which had citations that helped me see everyone as God's children, made in his likeness. I prayed along the lines that the only connection we can feel and know is with our Father, Mother, God. In this connection, there is no sorrow, parting, loss, or pain, or any false sense of responsibility. A sense of peace washed over me, and within the hour the pain left. I am so grateful for our weekly unity watches also, which help us pray for ourselves and others. One recent one included a quote from Miscellaneous Writings that I just love by Mary Baker Eddy, page 151. Part of it reads, quote, "Brother, sister, beloved in the Lord, knowest thou thyself, and art thou acquainted with God? If not, I pray thee as a Christian Scientist, delay not to make him thy first acquaintance. Glorious things are spoken of you in his word." End quote. I'm very grateful for Christ Jesus' teachings and for Mary Baker Eddy, who gave us the science of Christ so that all may find their way home to their Father, Mother, God. And I'm also very grateful for this church and what they're doing to bring this pure science to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy.
I am grateful to be a member of this church and for all I have learned here. Thank you also for the readings tonight. Through the teachings of Christian Science and practitioner support, I have learned to resist the apathy I was shown in my youth. I was thinking of how, in tonight's readings, when Jesus saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, from Matthew 9. That compassion was not something I had modeled at home or amongst my family. I may have had moments of compassion in my life, but it wasn't until I came to this church and witnessed my practitioner and others reflecting divine love and having compassion on me and others that I began knowing what I was lacking before and started understanding how to live this science. I am certain that without Christian Science and all I have learned here, that I would never have been able to begin feeling and expressing and reflecting divine love. And I wouldn't have been able to be properly motivated by divine love to show compassion to others. And I definitely would not have learned to stop giving power and life to those false beliefs I was raised with. I'm so grateful for all the blessings and healings I have gained here. It's just such a constant blessing to be a member of this church. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
Thank you, Gary, for those readings. And thank you for emphasizing working Christian scientists. And before coming to this church, hardly knew what a Christian Scientist was. And the idea of a working Christian Scientist, Mary Baker Eddy has shared with us, means so much, and so much to me. And I didn't realize how much of a blessing it is on the whole world, not just reading and reading, but reading and applying, reading and demonstrating, reading and proving, reading and repeating healings that they've heard and seen. Go out into the world, because there's so much need for it, and there is so much inspiration, enthusiasm, even at the thought of it. And in Jesus' time also, they came from everywhere. Just at the mention of that such great things were happening, and they're still happening. They happen in our church, and I find that the works that are being shared, that working Christian Scientists are protected because they're working. They're protected to know what's going on and what to do. And I thank God for that. just recently, just in praying or singing hymns and the poem by Max Dunaway helps. Just when I'm not even fearful, I didn't think I was fearful, I actually was. He has a poem, he says, fear, you racketeer, your weapons are your lies. Your power goes when hope and faith arrive. Why then should we not defy the thief that would maraud? Fear will disappear when thought is touched by God. And if you're singing hymns and singing poems, you can't fear, and you're going to be clear and recognize this, if something's trying to work, what to do. And know your true self as a working Christian Scientist and be a blessing and as a consequence, life is better. My days are better because I expect to have dominion over them versus when I wasn't here and I just went with the flow. But, if I'm having dominion over them, somebody else is blessed and being helped, and a smile is on their face, or they know better what to do. So I thank God for Mary Baker Eddy and to keep raising up more working Christian Scientists in this church and around the world.
Thank you. Michael from California, go ahead, please.
Good evening. Thank you for the readings. I was just reflecting earlier on all the good that's come to my experience since discovering Plainfield. I've been raised in Christian Science, but the real learning and living of it didn't really start until I discovered this church. And I remember when I first did discover Plainfield, try to share it with the branch church I was a part of, and I showed them the website, and I remember telling them excitedly, this is the future, and this is the future of Christian Science. And if at that time with their issues, I said, if you want this church to last, this is the direction you need to go in. Stop waiting for Boston and start looking at what these people are doing. And it was almost like I was speaking in Chinese to them, and their eyes sort of glazed over, and some of them just kind of brushed it off. And I kind of just let it go after that. But I knew I had found something important. And shortly after that, I started having demonstrations. People in my family were starting to heal. Too many to mention. But today, I'd had an issue with a money situation that I was worried about. And it was completely resolved. And as I was coming home to my new place, a person walked up to me that I'd only met once before inside of the housing complex I'm living in. And he asked for a ride. He said he needed to pay his phone bill and asked me if I could help him. And I know there was a time when I would have been not very helpful and probably told him no and probably been upset that he was interrupting my day. And I'm not proud of that, but I was very much grateful for what had just happened with myself. And I said, sure, just jump on in. And I drove him to where he had to pay his phone bill. And then I listened to his situation. He told me about challenges he's having in his life. And I just listened and, just was empathetic to what he was saying. But while he was inside the phone store, I started praying for him and for the situation that he brought up. And then he came back, and he just was very grateful for the help. And I was able to take him back home, and he thanked me, and we parted ways. But I just realized in myself that the change, and I'm just very grateful for the spiritual progress made with Plainfield, with the articles, with teachings, the practitioners, everyone that's participating. Just want to say thank you, thank God that I found you, and that Just want to keep learning. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Shorty.
Good evening. I would like to offer gratitude to my practitioner for praying with me and supporting me in my relationships with family and particularly with my grandchildren. Each one is very special and unique. I am learning to communicate in a more harmonious way, often speaking truths here that I learned. I have learned here at Plainfield without being dogmatic or pushy. It is true, God is always speaking to us, and even if we don't hear audibly, we will know what to say with the right words at the right time. Here, I also learned to give them completely to God and His care. I cherish what I am learning, and it is very fulfilling to see each child of God prosper and grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jo from Illinois. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to express my gratitude also for this church, Plainfield Independent. It's been a complete lifesaver for me in so many ways. Like the previous caller said, it's just nice to be seeing progress in every area of my life. It's not just the healing, but it's the learning, the correct thinking, recognizing that you have the ability to control the thoughts that you let in. And I have especially been focusing a little bit lately on the mental malpractice piece of things, and listening to Bicknell Young's protective work has been really helpful. I recognize with that there are so many little things that get into your thinking that you don't even recognize you've accepted that can interfere with your trusting God and your limiting yourself in your life. So I think this is going to be something that my whole life I'm going to be learning something new. Even if I've read an article or a book many times, I always find something new. I appreciate the readings, and I appreciate the practitioners and the roundtable. The Sunday school has been very helpful for my family, and all the articles that we can, access 24 hours a day, and everybody that's involved with the watches and the Bible studies. I really appreciate having access to this church. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony from Georgia. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for the readings tonight, Gary. Appreciate those, and appreciate all the other testimonies tonight. I echo a lot of the sentiments. I want to give gratitude. I want to talk about a situation. It's an ongoing situation, but it's the dealing with fear and the dealing with anxiety. And a situation was brought to me that has brought with it an attempt to stir a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety in me. And I thought it was wise to call a practitioner here at this church. And it was made very clear to me that understanding that God being the governor and the principal of all the parties involved, that there is only good, there is only love, there is only a good expected outcome. But to allow yourself to be pushed into the future, to always have to look at what might happen in the future, was definitely not of God. And in this case, it was really wise to give gratitude and thanks for having everything that is needed each and every day to meet the needs of this day, and not be forced to look ahead at a potential situation. And it's been talked about before, but the wisdom that so many of the early workers have gone through, and their writings and what they've lived through, really has helped kind of prepare my thought to deal with these very aggressive suggestions that come to me. I actually see these suggestions now as an attempt to bully me in some ways, and to it's not your friend at all. And I see this, I recognize it right away. And this is not a direct quote, but it was basically, we are to hide ourselves in God with as little or as much knowledge we have of Christian Science. That's probably not a great paraphrase, but I believe that was from Mrs. Eddy. I'll have to find that specifically, but the point was we hide ourselves in the truth of all that we've learned. And the practitioner has been very clear, very loving, very supportive, and that has given me the ability to manage these thoughts and these fears when they come, to see them as not as part of God, and stare them directly in the face, pick up the serpent and handle it, and love more, love all the people involved even more from this divine standpoint that God is governing them. And through that, inspiration comes to take certain steps, to do certain things. And as a result of doing that, I have found that the fear, the anxiety is clearly moving away. And it's just beautiful to see, science in operation. And I'm so deeply grateful that we have practitioners here that are willing and able and capable of providing this guidance and love as they reflect the Christ. And I'm just deeply grateful to be part of it. And I'm grateful to have the experience, because as we know, it can only bless us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary, for the inspiring, beautiful readings. I just so love the poem by A.E. Hamilton. I feel that we can all love more, and myself included, since we are all reflecting God, who is love. There's so much or so many to comfort right now, and I feel that if we keep awake to the truth of our being, we can see perfection in everyone, everywhere. I do have one testimony from California this week. This was actually given a few weeks ago. He says that a few weeks ago, my son's soccer team had planned a tournament in Arizona. I had never sent him in a plane by himself before, although he's a teenager. And also there has been so much talk, negative talk about traveling, and that got me very nervous. I did call a practitioner from this church, and as always, she lovingly and kindly asked me to pray with Psalm 91 and Psalm 121. In the 91st Psalm, it says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." I put all my effort in knowing that my son dwells in God and is protected. And I also knew the same thing for all his friends and everyone on the plane. I also prayed with Psalm 121, verse 8, which says that the Lord shall preserve thy going out and coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. I prayed with both of these verses, and I felt the nervousness was going away. Every time I felt that fear coming back, I prayed with these two verses. My son left for the weekend. He had a great time and a very safe plane ride. I am so thankful for Christian Science, for all that I'm learning, either small or big. I put God first and know that all is well. So grateful always to my practitioner and this church. Thank you, Plainfield, for all that you do. I'm so grateful also for all the testimonies so far. And I just cannot say enough about this church. I hear a lot about this church. People are discovering it. And we don't hear from all of them, but they are discovering it. And I can't be thankful to God enough because what I learned here and how to practice science has changed my life. So happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
Good evening. A few things to read. First, Pennsylvania. Recently, we had a call from someone claiming to represent our internet provider with an offer to reduce our monthly bill by 50%, continuing for 5 years. Naturally, I questioned their legitimacy, but they sounded very professional and had information about our account, such as the exact amount of our present monthly bill and the amount of our initial bills from 6 years ago. And so we were with them. The reduced amount better reflected our use of the internet. The only stipulation was that we pay for the initial 6 months up front. Then, having been transferred to billing, we learned we would need to pay using gift cards from a major realtor. Then we were told we would need to get the gift cards that night or early the next morning. We don't drive, and this is what saved us. I automatically rejected the idea of getting someone to take us. Much to the man's surprise, I insisted and repeated, "We can't do that," and finished the call. I believe at that point my spiritual sense clicked in. Human reason didn't help. Funny, but still believing it was a legitimate call, I just didn't want to do business with a company that did business that way. In the morning, with the advice of a neighbor, we called our internet provider and found out, of course, that it had been a scam. I'm grateful to Plainfield for so encouraging us to listen to our spiritual sense. Human mind thinking wasn't serving me well. Thank you, God, for saving both ourselves and the wrongdoers from success with the scam. The next is from Connecticut. I wanted to thank you all at Plainfield for a recent testimony meeting. I'm especially grateful for Imogen's testimony. I have struggled with the question of vaccines since they were first introduced. Unfortunately, I gave them power that they didn't have. What Imogen shared was so helpful to me. Her practitioner's realization that matter in any form has no power was proven to her in her experience. I have pondered all that day and will remember that whenever I am tempted to give any power to anything other than God, I will not do it. Thank you, Plainfield, for all you do. And then Vermont. We are so grateful for the Plainfield Church. The services are so very uplifting. The website is a terrific reading room and listening room. Please accept this check as an expression of our love and appreciation for all that the Plainfield Church does. And then Virginia. It is with a heart full of gratitude that I send this monthly contribution check to support all the wonderful work which is accomplished at this independent Christian Science church. All the work that is done here truly reflects the words from Science and Health. Love is reflected in love. The world benefits. It is drawn to this church and its website and feels the warmth, caring, and healing which continually goes out to all. With love and gratitude. And then finally, England. Firstly, I'd like to express thanks for a recent roundtable on everlasting punishment, which included a discussion about 2 pamphlets about animal magnetism and Roman Catholicism. I found these on the roundtable page of the Plainfield website and have been reading them and have found them very helpful so far. This is another really good source of articles, which I was previously unaware of, and I'm very grateful to Plainfield for making these available. I'd also like to express thanks for 3 testimonies in recent weeks from people who have lost loved ones and have embraced the Christian Science teachings that life goes on and that we are never deprived of anything good or needful. We recently lost our much-loved pet cat, and by applying similar thoughts about the situation, we felt able in just a few days to rehome another cat that the cat charity had been having difficulty rehoming because she had various requirements, which we could easily meet. So she is settling in now, and we are so pleased to have her with us. Of course, we will never forget our previous cat, but we know that she is continuing on and is still being cared for by her Heavenly Father. I am so grateful to Mrs. Eddy for her years of tireless work to give Christian Science to the world, and to my Plainfield practitioner for her support, and to the Plainfield Church for all that you do. Much love to you all. Thank you very much for those readings tonight. Yeah, it was inspiring to realize that we all have this individual mission. It was so beautiful, the readings from Mrs. Eddy, because she certainly lived and experienced her divine mission. And here we were taught that each one of us have what we call a divine destiny. And when we're listening to God and actively praying that we do His will, we will find that divine destiny. And it's always very satisfying, fulfilling, and it does lead to helping others, as these readings brought out, and which is always what gives us true joy, true satisfaction, and true growth. We're not just focused on our personal lives and how pleasant Christian Science has made our personal lives, but we are giving to others. Then we've also learned that on the opposite side, there is what's called the human destiny. And in that, it's more the Adam dream. And it's a lot of problems, unsolved problems, because without God, the problems never do get solved. So I'm very grateful to know this, to know that everyone everywhere has this divine destiny, this individual mission, and that each one can find his or her place in God's grand scheme of things, because He created us and He speaks to us and keeps us safe on the path. I'm so grateful for all the lessons that I've learned by being a member here. I'm grateful for all of you, for your faithful support in helping us and continuing, yes, our individual mission. And as Mrs. Eddy said, that is to prosper the cause of Christian Science. So thank God, and thank God for you all, and have a good night.
Thank you.